A few days ago, a bunch of people reached out to me on Twitter and asked if I could do a kind of breakdown of how I made the scene and how I really when I of how I made the scene and how I can make something unique. So what we're taking a look at here is the video that I posted on Twitter, and we're if we pause it, let's take a look at the actual Unreal Engine scene, and let's get started taking a look. So the main theme of this video, you probably saw in the title, is making complex or scenes simple. And that's really it. If I open up Maya, one of the things you'll see right here is there is not very many props that make up this scene. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because this one's just duplicated right here. Uh, there's 10 props that make up this scene. I'll show you what I mean. You're probably seeing a lot of foliage and stuff. We'll get through that in a second. But if I open up, let's go right here. This is one of the earlier progress photos, but I wanted this one. If we look at this, this is the inner bowl of the temple that if you saw the video, you saw later on in the second half. But this is the inner bowl without any foliage. If we take a look here, you can see there's a lot of reused parts. But let's take a look at uh, this image right here. This is one of my reference images that I had for this environment. It's just an image that I plucked off of Google. Same thing with this one. This is for the front side. Um, and these are my main two for the entire thing. I wanted to make something that was kind of resemblant of the Angkor Wat. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize to anybody, but it's a famous temple in Cambodia, and I wanted to make something that was very similar to it. I didn't want to replicate that temple one to one. So I found these two where these are probably completely separate, but this one I figured that if I can take this and combine it with this, then I can make something pretty unique and pretty different, something like you don't typically see on like ArtStation or something similar. So, but if we take a look at these, one of the things I wanted to do, and one of the things if you watch the tutorial series that we talk about all the time, is we talk about breaking down our reference images into what we see as duplicates, right? So, and what we can break down as duplicates, so that aren't typically. So if we take a look at this, one of the things I saw right away is I saw this right here, this shape, this. There's a little bit of this right here with this pillar, and the ground sections all are kind of similar. Same thing. This is an exact duplicate of this one. These are probably slightly different from this one. Same thing with these over here. Um, but then all the roof tiles look exactly the same. The walls, they have a little bit of lines in them, but this looks very similar to this, and this is definitely the exact same as this over here. And then all these are like there's a big blocky shape right here, and then there's big blocky shapes that make all this up. Um, if we look up here, all of these, this is just the same shape. So if I go like this and we'll go around, this is the same shape, just redone like 3 times. And you can see it on the same side too. It's just the same shape, just redone. And then this is exactly the same as this, that, and this is slightly different, but kind of you can get away with saying that this is the exact same as that, which subsequently is the exact same as that one and that one. Like so, that's the point I'm trying to make here is that when you is that you can see a lot of like really duplicate shapes and duplicate things. And then if we go here, if we were just looking at that last one, those pillars, this is identical. These are identical pillars to the ones we saw on the other side. They're here, on this side. They're right here, whatever. They're on both sides. There's a little bit of architectural difference on the inside um, with these arches, but this weird little like half built structure thing, this can't be a real image actually now that I'm looking at that, but this half built like structure thing is probably not uh is kind of the same as if we look over here, this little indentation here. So once you get a process for this, if you're looking back here, then you can use a similar process for here, and then yeah, this is, and I know this is not the same place, but like the similar structure on the back, it looks very similar to up here. Um, so you can start to see where you can reuse things, and and that's one of the biggest pieces of planning is extensive pre-planning and knowing where your kit can get reused, so that when you plan out your kit, like when I was planning this kit out, I was like, okay, I know that this, after I just pointed all that out, I know this is going to get reused so many times. I'm going to reuse this thing, this pillar, a vast different ways. So when I looked at it, I was like, okay, well, one of the things I can do is I can make one side kind of ornate. It just has like a little bit of a design to it. And I can leave the backside blank, or I can leave multiple other sides of it blank, so that that gives me this side that I can place, and then this side I can do kind of whatever I want with. I can just have a blank flat face, or I can add like a blueprint where, say, this side has like cracks in it with a decal, this side has just general wear, and this side's just blank. And then if we go into Unreal, you can actually see that in real time. So if I go here, you can see the pillar right there, but then, and you can see it reused here as well. But if I go up a little bit, uh, these are the exact same pillar, but they just have this section. It just, if I grab this guy, it's just rotated. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's a very simple process to make this entire environment. Ooh, struggling there a little bit. It's a very simple process to make this entire environment. And one of the biggest things that I also preach is, if we take a second and go back here, this is a super early version without any foliage in it, right? For the entire backside of this section. Now you're probably looking at this and saying, "Oh, it's not very complex." You're right. It's an incredibly simple environment, just different pieces. So like we have, if we look, we see our pillars right there. We see this piece right here, which if we go to Maya, it's this piece right here. Um, Actually, let's make this a little easy. Let's get rid of all those. Um, if we take a look, like you can see, like this piece is right here. You have the doorway right next to it. Um, all these different pieces are just this layered in different ways on top of each other. The spire in the background, if we take a look at this image right here, it's just a pillar. Again, it's just a pillar arranged in different ways. Arranged in a different section on the bottom, duplicated placed on top of itself, that's duplicated placed on top, and so on and so forth until we get to the bottom one. And I cut a few of them out. I cut like two or three of them out each time I went up, so it wasn't like I wasn't getting super density of uh pockets up here. But that's the thing, is it's like it's just reusing assets in creative ways that get you to a new shape and a new form. And one of the biggest things you'll see when we talk about that is, oh, I don't remember where exactly this picture is, but is the bridge, like the bridge in the front of the scene right here that we see right here, and we saw in the video, is the is made out of all of these different parts, just used in creative and different ways. The entire bottom, you can see these ridges right here, are these ridges right here. You can see these pieces and these pieces right here are made out of this, which this is made out of this combined with that. And then the bottom sections are made out of that guy. The whole top section made out of that. Like, and then all these different pieces right here are made out of this pillar. Like, I keep saying that it is just the creative reuse of pieces. That is 100% how to make a really performative scene that is made out of modular pieces, that can A, allow you to iterate something super fast, and then B, allow you to make super complex scenes really, really, really easily. Now, one of the other things is layering, layering details on top of each other. Um, let's go back to this image right here. So when I talk about layering, I talk about I'm talking about, like, this is a building that was made, or even if it was some sort of fake image somebody generated and put it on Google, this is the real building is probably a building that's been around for hundreds of years, maybe even if not thousands, right? It is a building that has been sitting there in the rain, a building that has been sitting there in the jungle, in it's been hit by typhoons, it's been hit by other things, it's been hit. People have, say, worshipped here. People have tra- traversed, and tourists have been here. You know, like there's so many things. There's sun bleach on the concrete. There's so many things that happened to this thing that made it the way it is. So just making like, if we take a look and we go back and we take a look at this right here, just looking at this right here, you can see it is a shell. It's an outline. It's missing a lot of stuff. And what you can do is, as time goes on, like let me start with this one, or actually let me start with this one. So like this was when I first started adding foliage in, right? I first started adding like a little bit of algae on the top, because like it's one of the things you start seeing appears in this reference. You start seeing algae building out from the bricks. You start seeing this, and then I was taking a look at like where all that algae is in context of this, and I started adding stuff on top of it, because when algae grows, you get dirt build up, you get other things, and then you start having things growing out of it, and then so if I go back to the actual scene, you can see that I have these vines that come out of the trees that come across, and how all this was created was, if I click on the vine here, this is from a tool called Tether in Unreal Engine. This one right here. The larger vines you see typically come from that. So like if we start here, and then these are also Tether. This one is from Tether. This one, but I knew you can't make a whole scene with just those. These are just, you always, in every scene, again, we talked about in the tutorial series, is you have tertiary or primary, secondary, and tertiary forms, and everything you do has that. It's not just shape language, or it's not just colors, or it's not just anything. Every single thing has primary, secondary, and tertiary details. So the primary details is the shape forms, right? Is we have these shape forms of the base object that we have. Go back a little bit. This is our primary form. We have the shape language here. So then we have the primary details is we come back and we go, okay, we have these big boys with these big vines that are coming out of the trees. And then our secondary details is we have these smaller vines, these smaller modular vine pieces that we can place around as if they're coming out of the ground the uh, up into the temple, and then sometimes coming out of the temple pieces here, or wrapping around. And then the tertiary details is one of the things, is like I said before, we have stuff coming out of the algae and the mold here, but we can use tertiary details to blend with secondary and primary. So if we have these vines here, one of the things you'll notice in our over here, sorry, I'm transitioning between multiple 3D programs. I'm forgetting. It's very easy to forget the controls. Is it's they're not connected to anything. They're not. It's just an L shape, and I did that on purpose. I'll show you why in a second. It's just an L shape, and they're not connected to anything. And I did that also on purpose, so that when we have situations where they say this comes up into this section here, you put a little pocket of leaves right under it, or right around where that connection would be, and it hides it. You don't see it. Well, you can kind of see it there, but it logically, from where the camera is, or the camera comes back here, you will never know that it just disappears into some concrete. Or right here, like one of the things is like it just stops right here. We have a little bit of blocker tertiary foliage that goes in front of that disconnect, so that we have like 4 or 5 that come up at different angles and different routes starting at the bottom, and you don't really see that disconnect is there. It just looks like a continuation over. And then one of the other things is we talked about layering. So right, let's take a direct comparison between the back of the temple, and let's take a look at this now. So like we have, again, we have our primary form. Let me take a look back here. You can kind of see where the layering is. Like again, we have, to just nail it home, like we got the primary form of the object, and we do the first detail pass. We have, some of our main shapes. We have these big trunk boys coming through uh, on this side too. Big trunk breaking up this section. We have some trunks on this side, and some big ones or some big ones right here coming in from the trees. All of our primary forms, they're either coming directly from a big gash opening in the section. So like this one is coming from this hole right here. This one's going to a big hole that's in the back. These guys are coming from a big hole that's in the back. And if they're on this side, they're going up into, you can see them going up into that tree. These ones are going up, you can't see it right now, but it's going up into a tree. Same thing with this one, it's going up into a tree. But then we take those forms and then we add our secondary. Our secondary is layering on top and connecting all of our primary forms kind of together and making it more believable, making it more realistic that you would have these primary forms, but then you would also have secondary. If you have a big trunk like that in a viney area, it's going to naturally attract like smaller ones on top of it. So coming out of the same hole, like we have all these like little guys that are laying on top, these that are coming around, wrapping around the big one, coming back into the water where it can feed. Um, and then same thing up here is like we had on the front side. We have all this algae that's right here on these tileable bricks, and then we have algae that's or a little bit of foliage is like growing out of that algae, but also growing on top of our viney bits, and we can use that again to kind of hide where these transitional pieces are, and then and it just creates that depth of layering, so that now we have a door frame here, but we have that's literally framed by all these different pieces, and it creates character, it creates life. So this entire scene, and we just carry that across for the entire scene. So we have these big forms that go up into the tree. We have these big forms go up in the tree, up into the tree. Up these forms that go up into these trees over here. If I go way too high, like you can see kind of where they're connecting into the tree, or this one kind of disappears into that area over there. But it gives the illusion that these, from where we planned our cameras, like we said in the beginning, we know that the idea is that this tree is growing out of the top section of this roof, and then we can surmise that this is a continuation of the tree, or it's the root structure of the tree feeding into the pool to get water so that it can grow. Um, but yeah, that's basically it. Is just understanding uh, where your cameras are going to be, understanding uh, making simple objects and simple shapes and creative reuse of them, but also understanding creative layering and to get how to do creative detail layering to get a complex piece. And that's as simple as it is to get a really complex looking environment. Thank you for watching this one. If you like this format of just like really quick, informative, off the cuff stuff, let me know. I've definitely try to make more of them, especially like I just released the Bear Mountain video. If you want to break down of that one, let me know. And but until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.